We'll be starting in 1 minute. Good evening. Good evening. I'm Jim McDonough. I chair the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners. I want to thank everybody for coming out to our public hearing. Just a couple of quick announcements. If you're here because your biggest concern is the increase in the valuation of your property. Is it on? Sounds like it's on. Is that better? Yeah. All right. We got that done. All right, a couple of quick announcements before we move into the full agenda here. If the biggest reason you're here is because of the valuation increase in your property, we have our valuation people past the main lobby desk there about halfway down. We've got a number of those folks there to help you with the valuation. They can, there's two refund programs that can help with you on that. They'll explain that. They'll also explain the process for getting your evaluation adjusted. But that would happen down there. So if you're here just for evaluation, I would suggest you move down there. The next thing I want to do is I want to apologize for the room size. We book our rooms like at the beginning of the year to make sure we have rooms. Because of a couple of topics in the budget this year, we've definitely got more people that showed up than normal. It's been a long time since we've had this many people show up for our public hearing. We appreciate each and every one of you for showing up. So I'm going to ask each commissioner here to stand up, introduce themselves, and say what district they're from, and then we'll get our agenda moving forward. Thank you.
Rafael Ortega, District 5, which includes Highland, Mac Grove, West 7th, Downtown, West Side, a couple of neighborhoods on the east side, the Capital District, and Crocus Hill up to Dale.
Hello everyone, I'm Mary Jo McGuire, Commissioner District 2, which includes the communities of Roseville, Little Canada, New Brighton, Lauderdale, Mounds View Precinct 4, and St. Anthony Village, Ramsey County portion.
Nicole Joy Fretham, District 1 Commissioner, represents the rest of Mounds View's precincts, Arden Hills, Shoreview, North Oaks, Gem Lake, Vadnais Heights, White Bear Township, and a sliver of Spring Lake Park and Blaine.
Welcome aboard.
Victoria Reinhardt, I represent District 7, and that includes Maplewood, so welcome to my district. All of the city of White Bear Lake, all of North St. Paul, and 2 precincts on the east side of St. Paul.
Hi, I'm Tony Carter, Ramsey County Commissioner for District 4, which is from the river to Rice Street, points north and south as far as Highland and as far as Falcon Heights.
Hi, Trista Metis Castillo, Commissioner District 3. I have parts of Payne Phelan, the North End, Frogtown, Hammond, Midway, Como, and the city of Falcon Heights.
Hi, I'm Ryan O'Connor. I'm the Ramsey County Manager.
And again, I'm Jim McDonough, District 6, which is pretty much all of the east side of St. Paul. I'm going to ask everybody to please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance with us. We have the flag up here on the screen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Victoria Reinhardt, our Budget Chair, for some introductory remarks.
Good evening, everyone. It certainly is a beautiful evening out there. Tonight, I am Budget Chair, as Commissioner McDonough said, and so tonight we are here to present the proposed Ramsey County budget for public comment. This is the second of 2 public hearings, and of course we had quite a few weeks of budget hearings that we have gone through. This fall, the Ramsey County Board approved the maximum property tax levy of $327,093,630 to finance the 2020 budget, which calls for a total spending. By the way, I'm giving you these numbers, but they're all in your materials as well. So it's 741, 749, 636 is the spending. Now I want to stress the fact that this overall proposed budget increase is 1/2 of 1% higher than 2019. Property taxes fund about 44% of the budget. The 2020 budget proposes a property tax levy increase of 4.75% over 2019. And that means, obviously, the property tax levy is paying more because of other funding cuts that come from other governments, primarily. The graphs and charts, and I mentioned that it was in your materials. Does everyone have a packet?
No.
Okay, John?
We run through the packet, Commissioner.
Okay.
Folks are just follow along, or if you want to dial something up on your phone, if you have a mobile device, it's at ramseycounty.us/budget.
Okay, I will state that too if you want to pull it up. Yes, I mean, clearly we have more people here than was anticipated. If you go onto your smartphone, it's ramseycounty.us/budget, and you can follow it there, and we can certainly get that to you.
One more thing, Commissioner. Our Treasurer, Chris Sanders.
Old people out here and like to know if we can get a speaker out here, or if you can let us know how
slide at a time. That'll be coming up on the agenda.
Okay.
This is also being live streamed right now. So for
Okay.
anybody in this room or in the hall who would prefer just to watch,
Speak louder or speak halfway so people can hear that they don't see.
thank you so much for your comments. I might just suggest a couple things. As our commissioner said, we did not anticipate this crowd tonight, obviously. Thank you for your patience with us. We are live streaming this event on Ramsey County's YouTube channel. If there are people who want to watch but aren't necessarily interested in testifying, that is an option by going to Ramsey County's YouTube channel at ramseycounty.us and then clicking the YouTube icon. I will do what I can to honor the gentlewoman's request there to find a solution for those who are in the hall.
Okay, and Chris Samuel will be going through the materials page by page as well. That's not going to help the folks out there, but we will see what John can do to get them those materials. Okay, so as I said, over the past few months, we have been going through the budget. Okay, there's so many things going on behind me here. I'm sorry, I'm going to do my best. Okay, the graphs and charts that those that have packets have shows the revenue and spending breakdown of this proposal. That is also can be found on the website. So we have been getting some media attention. There's no doubt about that, about the proposed budget and new initiatives, such as transforming systems together, residents first, policies, processes, and people, technology and facilities, and third, building a 21st century parks department with a focus on our golf system and programming. And I'm going to add a little editorial comment, and that is, obviously many of you are here for the ponds of Battle Creek, and that's been a major item. Perhaps. Okay, I guess I was right. Perhaps you attended earlier hearings or have submitted comments as part of the budget process, and those are all part of the official record as well. All the detail is available on these programs, including videos, and they're online again at ramseycounty.us/budget. I want to thank you for your feedback and your interest in participating in this process and these resources. Your input is essential. Shortly, our Auditor Treasurer, Chris Samuel, over there, will provide a short presentation with more detail and specificity on property taxes and trends. Please know that every effort to provide Ramsey County taxpayers with essential services at an affordable cost is what we have taken on. We have taken those responsibilities very seriously as stewards of the residents and our hard-earned money to work and craft budgets that are cost-effective, prudent, and predictable without uneven variations in levy year to year. That one of the reasons that we have been able to keep such a strong financial standing, which is evidenced by the AAA bond rating by Standard & Poor's and Moody's, which we've had since 2001, is because we have done that and really thought thoroughly through each budget and not trying to undercut one year and then have a maximum the next year. That AAA bond rating, by the way, saves taxpayers millions of dollars because when we have that bond rating, that means we spend less when we need to borrow money. After the hearing, after we hear from you this evening, the final budget approval by the county board will occur on December 17th. The final approved property tax levy may not exceed, again, the maximum levy set in September, but it may be lower. Changes to the budget may occur by actions taken by the board, including tomorrow we do addenda, but there will be no increase in the levy as a result of those changes. As we have considered the proposed 2020 budget, we have done our best to make fiscally prudent decisions about investments in our communities, providing for public safety and protecting the most vulnerable of our citizens, while never forgetting that citizens and businesses will need to pay for these services. General information about the range of services Ramsey County provides can be found in the Guide to Services publication that, again, is in some of those that have packets. It's in there, but you can also access that online. We're here to listen to you tonight. Thank you for your time and consideration. We look forward to your comments and suggestions. And I can tell you that even though we're not providing feedback, we're listening to what you have to say. Most often, we all stick around afterwards, so if there's comments that you want to make to us or talk to us, and we're always accessible beyond tonight as well through the website. You can get our contact information pretty easily. So at this point, I'd like to introduce Chris Samuel, who will take us through an overview presentation about the budget and property taxes. Thank you.
I got one more quick announcement. Please forgive me. We do have interpreters here tonight too. If you need them, we have our ASL interpreter up here. So if you need that, let's make sure they have a visual to the interpreter. We also have Spanish, Hmong, and Somali interpreters. Can our interpreters raise their hands, please, so we see who they are and where they're at? I was told we would have interpreters here. They are out in the hallway, so we do have interpreters. We want to make sure that if you need an interpreter, you get it connected to the Somali, Spanish, or Hmong interpreter. So with that, Chris. And we're going to slide off to the side here so we're not in front of your presentation. We're looking for John. Chris can't find the presentation on the computer.
Trying to find media for the people in the back of the library.
I'm sorry?
He's trying to find media for the people back there who requested.
Okay. I think we got some technical help here, so.
Thank you, Mike. See, is this gonna be loud enough to? Can you hear me now? How about now? Great, thank you. Good evening and welcome. I'm Chris Samuel, the Ramsey County Auditor Treasurer. Got it. Okay, this is going to be very loud, at least up here. I'm going to quickly go over information about the budget and about the proposed tax levies and some of the impacts. And I'm going to start with the presentation agenda today. We're going to talk about what is in the packet. We're going to talk about the quick budget overview, some property trends, how you would read your property tax statement, and then refund programs that might be available to help buy down taxes for you. We will be looking at information from the packet, and for those of you that don't have a packet and want to look at this information later, it is available online, so you'll have a chance to take a look at that. If you've got questions later and you want to recap information I'm covering tonight, it will be available so you can see it and look at it again. So what's in the packet is the agenda for this evening, a copy of this presentation. There is also information about some Pioneer Press articles that talked about when property values first went out, and also one that was just appeared this weekend on property taxes, and provides additional background for that. We'll also be looking at information on refund programs and talk about, for those of you that have packets, there also is a guide to services and our annual financial report, the PAFR, that may be helpful to you. The budget process has actually been going on for a while, and as far as property taxes are concerned, it started when you received your value notice back in March. The process for budgets has been taking place for most of the year, and right now we're at the point where we're November 25th, where we're having the second of the public hearings. And as Commissioner Reinhardt had already mentioned, the county board will be taking action on December 17th to set the final budget and tax levy. We've got some information about the vision, mission, and goals for the county. Goals in areas of well-being, prosperity, opportunity, and accountability. So just showing some of that information that is available to you. And further, we also have some strategic priorities that help shape the budget and the budget priorities, and those are shown here. For those of you that like the numbers and really want to dig into detail, we have an open data portal that has information about the budget. You can actually get down to the checkbook level. So you can take a look at a very highly detailed level, and it's available on our open data portal, and information about how to get there is shown here. As Commissioner Reinhardt has already mentioned, the budget is proposed to increase by 0.5% for 2020 and by 2.9% for 2021. And because there is less money available from other sources, the property tax levy is actually proposed to go up by 4.75% for 2020 and by 4.5% for 2021. The largest portion of the budget comes from property taxes, so 44.1% of the budget will come from property taxes for 2020. And you can see then that there are also sizable amounts coming from intergovernmental revenue or charges for services. And the information on this page is just a different way of seeing the numbers as opposed to a pie chart to take a look at those numbers, and also compares how they've changed from last year to 2020. This shows where the dollars are spent. Almost 50% of the dollars are going to the health and wellness team. And then you can see that there are other amounts then for the other services teams: safety and justice, economic growth and community investment, information and public records, and general admin. Largest portion for health and wellness. And again, this gives you a chart showing the information in a slightly different form, and also giving information to compare between years. So property taxes ultimately are tied to the value of properties and also to the levies, or the amounts being requested from property taxes by the taxing jurisdictions. The market values of properties are actually driven by the real estate market. So what's happening in sales of property, and that then dictates the values that are assigned to all properties as a result of the sales and the characteristics of those properties. The legislature has set a process where commercial properties pay more in taxes, where they have higher tax rates than those of residential property, and that's part of the mix is type of property. And what we are seeing is that commercial, residential, and apartment values are continuing to increase across the county. And this has generally been the trend neighborhood by neighborhood since the end of the Great Recession in 2012. I do want to note that areas are not necessarily increasing in value at the same rate. And so part of what happens is when you have one area that increases at a significantly greater rate than others, there's a shift in taxes that occurs that can show up then with larger increases in property taxes for those properties. Looking at the property tax statement, this is an example of a median valued home in the city of St. Paul. And a median valued home had a value of $186,200 last year and $199,800 for 2020. And this is an increase in value then of $13,600 or 7.3%. And on the notice is then the estimate of what the property taxes will be, and it shows up in the proposed tax notice area. And you'll notice that in step 3 is the tax statement itself. So the actual bill that you'll receive will happen in March next year. And that'll be based on the final levies of all the jurisdictions and any adjustments that may have happened with values. When we look at the detail in the lower half, start with the Ramsey County line, and you'll see that last year for this median valued property, they paid $802.49. Proposed for 2020 is $864.09, and that is a county increase of $61.60 or 7.6%. Further on in the notice, you'll see that there are lines there then for the city, showing what the proposed tax increases will be for the city. Also for the state, if you're a commercial, industrial, or cabin property, you may have state property taxes that show up on your notice, and they would appear here. And then you also have an amount for the school district, the metropolitan special taxing districts, and other special taxing districts, tax increment, or fiscal disparities. Total of all these taxes for this median valued property, 2008, 2720, this year, 3,196, or a 13% increase, $368.80, or a 13% increase. I do want to note a couple items about the notices that went out. In the city of St. Paul, they included information based on the garbage, proposed garbage pickup. And so the city levy for 27 million was included as part of that based on the vote. That will not be in place. We're not sure what the city's levy will actually be, but it'll be something significantly less than that. And so the notices that were out there actually reflected then what would happen with that increased amount in, and that is not likely to, won't be anywhere close to that. Also, for those of you that may be in the Mounds View School District 621 or the White Bear Lake School District 624, both of those areas also had referendums, and in that case, the numbers that were showing on the notice did not include the impact of the referendums. So voters in those areas may actually see an increase then when they get their final notices based on school district votes. This page shows impacts and tax on value and tax changes on median valued St. Paul homes, commercial properties, suburban homes, and suburban commercial properties. And this is showing the median change in market value, and then it also shows the median change in tax for the county tax. And you can see that there's actually quite a bit of a difference. If you look just at City of St. Paul, on that median valued home, we're looking at a 7.6% increase in property taxes for that median valued home, where the median valued commercial is actually, the county taxes are projected to go up 0.9%. So again, the type of property can make a significant difference, as well as how much your market value is changing from year to year in terms of what that bottom line impact is. As has been mentioned, we do have appraisers available, so if you want to talk in more detail about the value of your property and how that was arrived at, we do have appraisers that are available that can help you talk through that process and answer your questions. Because of the large increases, I do want to point out the property tax refund program. If you have looked at it in the past and thought, oh, I don't qualify, take a look at it this year. If you homestead your property, and your property taxes go up more than 12% from one year to the next, you'll likely be eligible for a property tax refund on those amounts that are above 12%, 60% of the amount that are above 12% in $100. So again, if you have not looked at this in the past, take a look at the Form MMPR and the property tax refund program, because you may be eligible where you have not been in the past. There also is a refund program available for those who have household incomes less than $115,020, and that's a situation where the property taxes are at a higher level than what the legislature has determined is applicable to the folks in that area. They may also then be available for refunds there as well. And those of you that are 65 years and older, there is a senior citizens deferral program that is available, and essentially what will happen there is the state will pay a portion of the taxes, but it has the effect of being a reverse mortgage. So it basically goes against the property and then is recouped at the point of the sale of the property. So it can help with short-term issues, but it is a program that's out there. And there is information there with the Department of Revenue that will give information about the property tax refund programs as well as senior citizen deferral program. At this point, I thank you for your attention, and I will turn the mic back over to Jim.
Thanks, Chris. So you got a super high level indication of how complex our property tax system is in Minnesota, and hopefully you got a general sense of how we bring our money in and what we spend our money on. We're going to start the public hearing here in a few moments. Real quickly, where's our timer? Who's our timer? Do you have like 30 seconds left?
I have a 30 seconds remaining sign.
So I'm gonna have you come and sit right by me so that they can see you. Because I've got over probably close to 50 speakers that have signed up, and I know a number of, and we'll stay as long as people want to talk. A number of you will come and line up afterwards. So I want to be really respectful to everybody's time. You get 2 minutes, and I know that's not enough to say everything you want to say. But I want you to think about what you can tell us in 2 minutes. I'm going to ask you to pay attention to our timer when he does the 30-second one, that you start thinking about how you're going to wrap it up, because I am going to keep us on 2 minutes so that everybody who showed up and wants to talk and wants to express their opinions to the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners will have that opportunity. I'm not doing it to be rude or cut you off, but I truly am going to do it to make sure we accommodate everybody. I'm going to announce the first 4 speakers, and I'm going to ask everybody to start queuing up. As soon as one's done, I'm going to ask another one, so we should always have 4 in line ready to go at a minimum to keep it moving and being efficient. We're really tight in here. It's a good thing we all live in Ramsey County and we like each other a lot, because you guys are doing a great job making room for everybody. If there's a speaker in the middle of an aisle, please make sure, or if there's a speaker outside, let's make sure we can get them up so that they can speak. And then once we get through the lists, I will open it up for anybody who wants to come up and share their thoughts. So with that, I'm going to declare the public hearing open. And the first 4 speakers in order are Irv Carlson from Maplewood. 2 minutes. Yep. Irv Carlson from Maplewood, Dave Martin Susi from River Falls, Michael Teekson from Maplewood, and Thomas Johnson from St. Paul. When you come to the mic, please state your name and the city you live in. Welcome.
My name is Irv Carlson. I live in South Maplewood. I was told there's 3 minutes. I'm not going to be able to get 3 minutes, am I?
No, you get 2.
Okay. I grew up in the Midway, St. Paul. My wife grew up on the east side. We decided to move to South Maplewood to get away from the guns and violence in the Midway area and Frogtown. When Ponds Course was built, it was more beautiful than when the Ponds Course was built. It took up golf, but the course more beautiful, important course used by my neighbors. I came to realize how diverse South Maplewood is. I met and played with many people in South Maplewood for the same reason I did for peace. I met a wide variety of people, Asians, Africans, Americans, Central Americans, who played ponds and were my neighbors, and we became very close friends over time. I received a very interesting letter from District 3 stating that the Ponds Golf Course needs millions of dollars to improve it. I read that 500-page report, and it's not true. The best thing for the course in that report was that to make it an 18-hole course. Also stated dumbing down the 9-hole course. The course is designed to have the back tees as difficult, very difficult, but the forward tees very easy to play for less skilled players and younger players. One other thing that was mentioned is that golf is played mainly by older, whiter, wealthier people. This is a racial profiling at its worst, a total lack of knowledge about golf. If I were to make a statement like that in my company's letterhead, I would be fired on the spot. I do not see Lamborghinis, Mercedes, town cars. I see cars driven by everyday people. The First Tee program, it's not just the First Tee program that's going to be losing. It's the hundreds of other kids that play that are not in that program.
Irv, thank you. Appreciate it. David Martinucci from River Falls, Michael Teekson from Maplewood, Thomas Johnson, St. Paul. Next up would be Jeff Kale. These are people that signed up in advance, so they may not have. Once we get to the list that signed up here, then we'll make sure we know. Jeff Kalish from St. Paul. Jeff, if you're here, come on up. Zach Condon from Woodbury, George May from Woodbury, Tina Fredrickson from Roseville. Any of you folks here? Come on up. If you're here, come on up. Come on up. As they're coming up, the next 4 would be Glenn Harrington Hall, Jody Holton from Shoreview, Kelly Dennison from St. Paul, and Barb Harrington Hall from St. Paul. Please start making your way up. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Commissioners. Good evening. My name is George May. I have been a 7-year regular member of the Ponds of Battle Creek, and obviously I'm here to stay. Website for the purpose of finding out what kind of recreational facilities are available to people my age. I'm retired, as a lot of my contemporaries are. But all I found were county parks and golf courses. And basically, it seems to me that if you close down, shut down the ponds at Battle Creek, you prejudice a lot of people my age. And I don't think I have to remind the commissioners that the people my age are growing, and we all vote. So I think that's essentially, as I understand it, the ponds, or I should say, the adjacent property across the road, the facility that the correction facility has an abundance of agricultural type of acres of that land for use of the public. They had no takers. And essentially what I'm saying is economically, politically, this is prejudicial to not only me, but the young people that take advantage of that system. It's a 9-hole course. It's basically a short, easy course to play, or a hard, difficult course to play, whichever you're in. But I'm here to ask that we at least have some input in deciding whether to keep that course open. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Jeff Kalish, Jack Condon, Tina Frederickson, Glenn Harrington Hall, Jody Holtren, Kelly Dennison. Please state your name and the city you live in. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Tina Frederickson. I'm a 4-year resident of Roseville, and for 2 years I've been a master gardener through Ramsey County U of M Extension. So when I was teaching at the U of M, that I would stand up here and advocate for a golf course, I would have laughed in your face. As an environmentalist, I thought that they were the devil. In the face of full disclosure, I am the gardener at the ponds at Battle Creek, and I have been for the last 2 years. I am also the one that was responsible for finding the rusty patched bumblebee and having it verified by by bumblebeewatch.org. Now, I am not a scientist, I am just a citizen. And so, while you cannot consider that actually worthy of preventing development on that land, that is just the first step in the process if you were to develop that land, which I find highly suspect that you would take a valued wetland that hosts a wide variety of plants and pollinators. And it's not just wetland, it's also part oak savanna. It's also part prairie. And so today I'm not going to talk about the people because I think we're going to hear from a lot of people talking about why this is important and valued to them. I'm going to name off just some of the pollinators and the other animals that I have found. Yellow bumblebee, mining bees, cellophane bees, cuckoo bees, green sweat bees, leafcutter bees, hummingbird clearwing moths, syrphid flies, soldier beetles, great black wasps, monarchs. Monarch population just was out of control this year. Swallowtail butterflies, red admirals, white admirals, painted ladies, clouded sulfur butterflies. Killdeer. Have you ever seen a baby killdeer? They're hysterical, and they live in a population at the golf course. Mergansers, they are in population at the golf course. You take away and develop that golf course, you are going to lose all those valued populations. And when one comes with a single thing in nature, we find it attached to the rest of the world. John Muir.
Welcome. I think you turn the knob on the pole there, you can just bring the whole pole down. There you go. Say your name and the city you're from, please.
Hi, I'm Jody Holstrid from Shoreview. Let's talk about the availability we have for increasing our tax base with our two big development projects. Let's not give away the store by giving these developers huge discounts on their taxes to develop in those areas. They're highly valued areas. You should have no problem getting people to develop those properties without giving them tax breaks. Also, I want to talk about other parks. The park by my house, part of the reason I moved to Shoreview, has been virtually unusable for the last 5 years. The lake was flooded years ago, beach was shut down. All the walking trails around my area flooded, and yet I see all these great things. Oh, we're developing the prairie. How about if we figure out how to get the water flowing to the river? They dug a channel under the English Channel. I think we can figure out how to get water flowing from Shoreview to the Mississippi. Let's get on it. And sure, it's nice to beautify the parks, but let's make them usable before we worry.
Hall, Sandy Dravowski, welcome.
Thank you. I'm Glenn Harrington Hall. I live in St. Colin in the Como Park neighborhood. I'm not sure I'll be standing with my back to the crowd yet. Every city, Duluth, I grew up in Duluth, they're talking about closing a golf course. The city of St. Paul is wondering what to do with the golf courses. And obviously the county's having that conversation now. If a golf course is costing the county more than it's taking in, it needs to be looked at. If it's a valuable piece of land that can be used in multiple ways, and not just putting buildings and houses on it, but other ways to use that land, it's time to look at that land. I think it's maybe time to take a look at what we can do with the golf course. Other than golf, there's plenty of golf available in the Twin Cities, in Ramsey County. There's plenty of things for seniors to do, community centers, community education. There's all kinds of opportunities all the time for seniors, and not all seniors golf. Many do, but not all do. There's plenty of other things to be doing as well. And other animals is important to you. I hope everyone who's applauding is also organically taking care of their lawns and not using fertilizer and other pollutants that destroy the environment as well. I think it's time to look at a golf course that's become a hole. It's not just 18 holes or 9 holes in the ground, but a big hole in the ground financially. It feels to me like
Let's keep it respectful, please. Everybody listen with respect. Everybody has their own opinions here.
Thank you.
Sandy Dvorsky, Jeff McQuaid, Jamie Barkey, Judy Goshitz, Candy Peterson, Kevin Unturer from Eden Prairie. If you're in the audience, please make your way up.
My name is Sandy Dvorsky and I live in Maplewood. Please support the 3-year extension of operations of the ponds at Battle Creek Golf Course. In 1979, we built our home in public golf course gets our approval because relative to other ideas like more housing of any kind, it has a low carbon footprint, it doesn't add demands to the maxed out school district, and is ecologically beneficial. I don't play golf. My husband doesn't play golf. I strive to form my opinions and express support for the greater good. The public golf course use of the land is an ideal for that greater good. While it's not a cash cow, it is profitable, it brings additional business to the community, it serves equity and diversity, and it is a wildlife sanctuary. That's a rare win-win. The problem? When and where did residents of Ramsey County get the opportunity before the drastic change of closing to participate in exploring options for this extremely valuable parcel of land? I attended the September 23rd Maplewood City Council meeting and heard Ramsey Commissioner Victoria Reinhardt make the case eloquently and nicely for the 3-year extension. As a longtime resident, I can be more frank. The sneaky feel of this announced budget decision made without public engagement smells and looks bad. That is especially true Given that the 500-page golf study recommended against course is loaded with a wide range of benefits. So a burning question is, close the golf course and replace it with what? Discussing ideas for a closed entity on idle land is very different from talk of changing active use. The golf course sets a high bar of benefits that I just described. Potential future conversations about replacement ideas should be required to stack up to what we've already got. So keeping what we already got is essential to any wise future conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Jeff McQuarrie, Jamie Barkey, Judy Moskowitz, Candy Peterson. You don't have to be in that order. We'll get to all of you, so just come on up and say your name and what city you live in.
My name is Barb Harrington Hall. I live in St. Paul, Minnesota. I do not mind paying taxes. And I would ask the commissioners to consider the taxes that go into Ramsey County that pay for maintaining golf courses, that the commissioners consider using those taxes for maintaining special ed in St. Paul schools, supporting the families in our county who have handicapped children and need extra support. And I am going to give up my seat and stand so people in the back, someone can sit down. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Barb. Come on up and introduce yourself, name and city.
Hi, Judy Gatch, live in Maplewood. I was really sad when I read Bob Shaw wrote, "The ponds at Battle Creek course will close at the end of the 2020 season under a proposed Ramsey County budget. The commissioners were sneaky about wanting to close the golf course and did not even tell the city of Maplewood. One of their ideas is to put low-income housing at the 90-acre site. I read in the Maplewood Living, while the county owns the land, the city controls zoning in the area which is currently designated as parkland. Any zoning changes to this site will go through a public planning process where the community will have a chance to weigh in on zoning and to remain open. Many people here have worked a lifetime, and some can't afford to go to the expensive golf courses. I don't golf, but I know there's people that are on limited income, and please consider to keep this golf course open for families. And as far as low-income housing, I am for it, but we already have it to the west and to the south. We had a killing at Battle Creek just several blocks away, a gang shooting. A man was killed in August. We've had rapes, and we've had break-ins to our cars, and people stealing patio furniture from where we live.
Thank you, Barb. Next speaker, please. Name and city.
Jamie Barkey, I'm from South Maplewood, and we like to call it South Maplewood because it's a community. We don't have access to this library, not really. We don't have access to the shopping. We don't have access to the parks up here or the community center. 4 to 5 times a week to practice during the season. My husband's there all the time. They meet people, they meet friends there. It's our community. And I don't know whose idea it is to have some legacy, but we care about our golf course. It's all we've got. We closed our fire station like 5 years ago. We have no place to vote and no trucks there to come put out the fires at our house. It's 5 miles away by 3 a.m. So come on, let's South Maplewood have something, please.
Thank you, Judy. Next speaker, name and city, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Kevin Unterreiter, and I am from Eden Prairie, and I'm the owner-operator of TwinCitiesGolf.com and the volunteer chairman for Save Battle Creek Golf Initiative. I did want to compliment the Ramsey County staff and the city of Maplewood. They've been very helpful. My goal will be to share with you community feedback that we hope will influence you towards supporting Commissioner Reinhardt's addendum to keep the course open through 2021. To date, we have 3,295 signatures on our petition. Then I've spent the last 3 months talking with patrons, neighbors, boarding courses, even frustrated real estate agents having trouble selling houses. I will email each of you tomorrow their comments so you can see what a positive impact the course truly has. Having helped the ponds with marketing this year, I'm happy to report that 2019 will show a net profit to the county at Ponds of Battle Creek of approximately $90,000. With an even better financial forecast in 2021 and no expected capital improvement expenses through 2021. As a consultant to more than 100 courses around Minnesota, the Ponds has the potential to be the dynamic and diverse community-centered facility that provides opportunities for residents to engage in inclusive programming at a welcoming recreational site regardless of age, gender, or a now profitable golf course, no defined plans, no projection of cost to maintain an abandoned property, the recommendations of the golf study, strong community support, preference of the City of Maplewood Mayor, City Manager, and even the Ramsey County Commissioner for Maplewood. I'm encouraging you to strongly consider supporting the addenda that would keep the ponds open through 2021 while an exit strategy for the county is determined. Give us one more year through 2021, and I'm confident we can create a win-win-win for the county, the City of Maplewood, and its residents.
Thank you, Kevin. Welcome. Raven City, please.
I'm appalled. I'm an elected official too, and sometimes we make some boneheaded decisions. This one that you're planning on is boneheaded.
Can't hear you.
The only person that has any sense is Victoria Reinhardt. She right there out in 96, and I like her, okay? Hal Norgard, he's probably rolling around thinking, what are you guys thinking about? And you are. I'm on the executive committee of the program for anybody. Doesn't matter ethnicity, how much you make. You wouldn't believe it puts those clubs in those kids' hands, and it's growing the sport, and that's important. I've been golfing all my life. My dad knew Arnold Palmer in the Coast Guard. I thought he made that up. Now I have a golf dome. You're very familiar with Goodrich. So I've been in golf all my life, but it's a wonderful sport. My kids all caddied at Hillcrest, and now it just sits there now, like nothing. That's the city of St. Paul. I can't bitch at you guys about that. But I think you got to look at this. I mean, this is just a bad deal. I go there. It's a community, like these other people have said. I'm in North St. Paul. I go and use the outdoor driving range all the time. So I really want you to reconsider, because I think you're making a bad decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Candy. Welcome. Raven City, please.
Chuck McQuaid, West St. Paul. Good evening. We keep the ponds open. I feel those words fell upon deaf ears. Today, I offer another perspective. In 2006, I graduated with a master's degree in alternative dispute resolution. I'm hoping that the lessons from my education might strike a chord with the council. I'd like to review the events of the last year as it pertains to this public dispute. During the first half of 2019, the upcoming budget was established by the county manager, council members, and executive team. In June, a public meeting was held. Many people spoke in favor of keeping the ponds open. No questions or dialogue was allowed. According to the August 13th county workshop presentation, a resident's first approach was proposed with the hopes of, quote, engaging in authentic and constructive community dialogue. In September, I learned of what was essentially a cease and desist order from Ramsey County to members of the pond staff, ordering them that they could not speak out against the closing of the ponds. On September 18th, Councilwoman Reinhardt proposed her addendum to the budget. With that said, I'd like to suggest some principles of alternative dispute resolution when making decisions. 3, progress demands positive working in relationships. 4, parties should help design and process the solution. Lasting solutions should be based on interests, not positions, and process must be flexible. During my education, my professors encouraged relentless flexibility. When seeking solutions, engaging in arguments, and in general, relentless flexibility encourages us to push beyond our preconceived notions in pursuit of doing what is right for everyone involved. I feel the council has yet to seek alternatives to closing the ponds. I encourage you to employ this approach before making a final decision.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, I'm gonna read through the list of folks that signed up online or called in, and as you can see, seats are opening up. You can infill here if you want to come up. So David Martinucci, Michael Teekson, and do we have a speaker out there now, or can they hear us? Zach Codden, and Kelly Dennison. With that, we're going to move into the list of folks that signed up for this evening. I've got about 40, and we'll continue to go right down this list, but I want everybody to know, if we continue to just hear from the golf course folks, at some point I'm going to ask if anybody signed up to speak on something else other than the golf course, to make sure we have a little bit of respect for folks that came for something else. We will be here, we will listen to everybody who wants to speak to the board tonight. So I'll start on this list. This is handwritten list. So I'm going to do the best I can with your names. If I butcher your name, please accept my apology in advance. It looks like Arvin Barditz from Arvin Barditz, Gary Unger, Kevin Gilden, Joyce Thompson, and Reba Coos. If your name's called up, just come up. You don't need to speak in the order I called. Just come on up so we can keep the
Gary Younger from St. Paul. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm here to speak about the ponds. Ponds land, when it was granted or given to the city or to the county, was for the common good. When the common good, the ponds has served a failed productive day program that the state and the county were to be working in, where the inmates that were on work, could be on work release, were placed out on the golf course. This has failed, but it still kind of struggles along. That failure should have been followed through and pushed the state to follow through with their portion of that commitment. And it didn't happen. We're failing our youth today in big ways. And the county seems to be stepping in real bad. That First Tee program, they're not out on the street, they're not breaking in their cars, they're learning a productive thing that they'll carry through for the rest of their lives. The pond is about 40% of watershed and restored prairie. It is a beautiful course. If you come out there in the fall and take a look at it, you'd see a very beautiful place. There is some people involved in the ponds that are dedicated to making that a beautiful thing. It's an asset to this community. It's the only golf course around that has 40% of it in natural states. It's wonderful. We've got to be more caring about what we're providing for quality of life, and I thank you.
Thank you, Gary. An Yang, Besh Obessa, and Sandy Hendrickson. Welcome, in your name and city, please.
My name is Joyce Thompson, and I live in Shoreview. I've lived there about 20 years. And Ramsey. Sometimes they tank, but when they tank, nothing goes down, it all goes up. My overall levy with the school is going to, including the school levy, I'm going to be paying about 18% more in taxes. That's a lot for a senior citizen on a fixed income. And I've been here other times. This is really a shell game. You want X amount of dollars, you target a few select neighborhoods to increase the value, stating, oh, we haven't kept up. The goal is, get the dollars by any means. You don't care if it pushes people out of their homes or decreases people's standard of living. I've gone through the entire repeal process several times. Let me tell you, they've been in my house. They can't identify if the flooring is wood or laminate flooring. Are those old or new cabinets? I said, no, I spent $120 and put hardware on them to make them look more new. Is that ceramic tile or vinyl? I said, it's vinyl, check it out. They don't know what they're doing. They just, and the whole goal is they intimidate you. They want to keep the tax dollar amount the same. You voted to give yourself a raise, $2,368 for 2020. Great gig, power to increase your own salaries. No pain for you people for your increased taxes. That's ridiculous. Before coming to the taxpayers, you need to make sure you do not have fraud and mismanagement of our dollars. See eligible, are appropriate payments being done. I've heard nothing about or the word audit to ensure our dollars are spent appropriately, only wanting to confiscate more dollars from us. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Name and city, please.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Ken Glidden. I live in Mountain View. I'm not here to speak about the golf course. I'm going to follow up on the previous speaker. I'm a retired homeowner. The point that I brought here, and I know that you folks aren't in the position to take that task on, but you're the closest to where I send my taxes, so I brought it here tonight. What I want you to recognize is that there is a distinction between working homeowners and retired homeowners. When I say retired homeowners, that means fixed income. Okay? In the last 2 was projected to be increased by somewhere around 24%. And I heard that the levy tonight is projected to be about 4.6%. But the projected tax increase on my home is, just as the previous speaker said, about 18%. The other piece of mail that I received was from Social Security. My increase for 2020 for Social Security increase is 1.6%. There is quite a difference between the increase in my income and the increased burden on the home that I hope to live in. As I work towards retirement, I projected roughly what I would spend and what my expenses would be and planned accordingly. When I receive a statement like this, that blows it completely apart. So I ask you folks to consider, understand that there is a clear distinction between working homeowners. I never complained while I was working. I paid all of my income taxes and my property taxes.
Kevin Rogers and Gary Borcha. Welcome. Name and city, please.
My name is Sandy Hendrickson. I'm from New Brighton. Mary Smiles, she remembers me from last year. My taxes went up last year 13%. This year my taxes are going up 16%. That's 29% in 2 years. I'm a single individual in a starter family home. I don't get a raise every year. And I have girlfriends who are having to refinance their home so they can keep up and pay their taxes. Renting is not any cheaper than owning a home. If you need a larger tax base, do something with that armory and get something in there. Stop burdening people and pushing them out of their homes.
Thank you, Sandy. Next speaker, name and city, please.
Bob Himmel, St. Paul. I wanted to speak to the property tax increase in our area on the east side of St. Paul. My friend Amelia and I are here tonight and we see projected property tax increase of about 40 to 50%. So looking at it, part of the explanation that I was reading increase in necessary tax revenue due to the trash regime, and that added onto the $8 million that he was going to add to St. Paul taxes anyhow. My objection to all this is, number one, the trash regime. The referendum on it, in my view, was completely illegitimate. He misinformed the public. He said that the public voted no on it. Citizens of St. Paul would be on the hook for those $27 million. That's completely legally incorrect. There was no obligation on the part of the citizens of St. Paul to pay anything, not even a nickel. In fact, the only obligation is the mayor himself and the St. Paul City Council. Now that the thing is passed, there's no talk about removing that $27 million tax increase, aggregate tax increase, and we're getting hit with property tax increases. So, what I'm asking, to the degree that you have any influence on, St. Paul City Council or in the mayor's office, that this be reobserved. The whole referendum be redone with proper information to the public. Thank you.
Next speaker, Don Hoggy, Mark Christian, and Celia Giles. Come on up. No, just in the order you're at.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Rogers, and I'm a resident of North St. Paul, Victoria. I believe that you're budget chair of that area. My first time having the opportunity to meet you. I'm here just for strictly dollars. When I got my proposed budget increase, it said 25.4% increase. And I realized that we have School District 622, and they told me when they had the bond levy referendum that it would take the average home and increase your taxes by about 3%. Now, I don't know where we're at in that field, but that's a small chunk of 25.4%. I've been in my home for 39 years plus, and it was stated tonight, all I do is pay higher taxes. I'm not going to sell my home just so I can earn an extra X number of dollars, but how can I afford when we're only getting a smaller percent of an increase in my job? And I'm going to be retiring soon as well, and moving into the new realm of getting single paying. But, how can I afford to pay this? This is just, to me, when we have 4%, 2%, 3%, 4% over the years, all of a sudden it dropped 25.4% in my lap. That just drives me kind of crazy to think that. This other gentleman speaking earlier said that 50% of the overall budget goes to health and wellness. And that kind of flagged me in my head. It's like, I totally may have this all wrong, but paying for somebody's health insurance or paying for deputies and their health insurance, I don't know. But I'm just upset with 25.4%. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kevin. Next speaker, name and city, please.
I'm Fred Don with Maplewood. I signed up online earlier today. Is this
It's a public hearing, yes, on the Ramsey County budget and our proposed tax increase.
Are they called truth and taxation? I'm just curious, are they? Because if they are, then they're not true. Because what I saw on your revenue page was that you were saying that a assessed value of $199,800 would pay an additional $52 a year extra in property taxes. I got news for you. Mine went up 504. That's a little bit different than your budget documents say. So where's the truth in taxation? I don't think there is any. The other thing that I've discovered is with analyzing this a little bit, the past 2 years, the county line, it went up 40%. The railroad authority, which I don't care if they build the rush line or bury it somewhere else, because it went up 47%. The library California did Proposition 13, and I think Minnesota needs to do Proposition 13 to stop rampant property tax increases. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, I'm going to call off a couple of names real quick. Jim Crosswalk and Mary Holtz. Welcome.
I'm Mark Chisholm from South Maplewood, here to talk about the ponds. I've been golfing there since it opened. It's a beautiful course. I would say it's right behind Keller as far as the facilities for golf in Ramsey County. My son learned to play the game there, went on to play for his high school team, and at one point he was on the grounds crew, took a lot of pride in it. There's a few young people here, but not a lot. Mostly older people, look like me, that are golfers, but the young people trust leadership. They take it for granted, maybe. So however you're gonna make a decision about this, it's gotta be up front. It's gotta be real. Do not close this. Add 9 holes, but still we're gonna close it? It was predetermined, if that's your decision. Remember, you got a lot of young people watching. They'll see how leadership works, or doesn't. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Next speaker, name and city. And you can, there's a knob if you want to, okay, you're fine.
Is this working?
Yeah, that's fine.
Good evening. My name is Clelia Giles, and I'm from the east side of St. Paul. Our Ramsey County taxes, the proposed taxes here are 23% higher for us. And when you include the city of St. Paul and the school district and all that, it'll be 27.5%. It's over $700. Now, my husband makes a good income, so we can pay it. But my concern is for the east side residents. It's a middle income area where we live. Some are homeowners, others are renters of single family homes. I am concerned that a tremendous increase and Caucasians and everything, and it's a wonderful place to live. But rents will go up because landlords will pass on the cost, and I'm worried that the area is starting to become more gentrified, and lower income people will continue to have a harder time finding a place to live. You know, we already have a problem with homelessness, and everywhere I go, I see people in the corners asking for money, and you hear about homelessness all the time. And if I understood the presentation correctly, taxes are supposed to go up again in 2021 by about the same amount. I don't know if I understood that right when the gentleman was doing the presentation, but it's a concern to me because of my neighbors.
Thank you. Next speaker, name and city, please.
Jim Fraswiller, currently in St. Paul. I've lived in Arden Hills since 1970. Why not to close the bonds? That's not the issue tonight. The issue tonight is the motion to delay that. It's clear from everything people have said since I've been standing in the back of the room that there needs to be accountability of what to do with that property, and it hasn't occurred yet. I support the motion, and I think everyone else should too. Later on, we can argue about the issues, but I think those are fairly clear too. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Next speaker. Name and city, please.
My name is Emilia Rodriguez, and I live in the East St. Paul. And what I would want to speak to is how concerned I am again about the garbage removal. I was totally and vehemently against it because I do work with the poor. They've tried to do the best they can to make means meet. And so for them to now be forced to pay for our garbage removal that they had never had to pay for decades and decades and decades, just because of some grand scheme of some supposedly elite people. Hurts community, it hurts people, and it hurts them in the pocketbook. And I'm just so disappointed that the Democratic leadership has done this to these poor people. And now then to hear now that we're gonna have our taxes go up 25 to 50%. I don't, just arbitrarily now, our houses have gone up in value. I agree with what the gentleman said earlier. Many of us plan to die in our houses. It's important to us. You do us no favor by telling us how much of more value they are and then raising the taxes on us. I don't know, those of you who don't understand the poor, too bad. But I wish you did. I wish you could get a little closer to them like I am every day. That's what I want to say.
Thank you for coming. Some seats opening. Welcome, name and city, please.
Mary Holtz from White Bear Lake. I'm primarily here because I'm so outraged at my property taxes.
Hard to hear.
Get close to the mic.
I'm primarily here because I am so outraged at the property taxes that are on my home. I've had my home appraised by realtors in a recent year or two. I wouldn't be able to sell my house for $150,000 less than that, even. Last year, my property taxes went up over 18%. This year is over 16%, and it does not include the referendum that was just passed by the school district. I live a block and a half away. I can't afford to live in my house. I haven't replaced the roof on my house since '97. When I moved into the house, that was the original roof. I don't know what's happening. I do know, however, I do pay attention and read the newspapers. I know that you all give yourselves nice size raises every year. And I remember back in '07 and '08, when we had the market crash, people were losing their homes, their retirement accounts. You were giving yourselves 25% increase. I only get 2% or less every year. How can you explain why you give yourselves such nice raises every year? Is that why our property taxes are going up the way they are?
Mary?
And when did your job become a full-time job? It used to be part-time.
Thank you, Mary. Mary, we do have our appraisers down. City, please.
Yeah, good evening. Steve Martinson, North Bakewood, and 20-year resident.
Did you sign up?
I did.
Did I call you? So I've got people that signed up. I want to take them in order, then we'll open it up to people that signed up. Because they did take, I want to make sure we get those. Pardon me?
We couldn't get in the room to sign up.
I think they're just taking the sign-ups up there and they're sending them up to me.
No, they're not taking any more sign-ups.
Well, we'll get them, but I've got lists here. Before I move to the next list, Arvin Bartz, An Yang, Gary Borcha. All right, next list. I'm gonna run off a couple of names, and again, I apologize. I know I'm butchering a lot of your names here. And this one is like, I don't know, but 2040 Como Avenue, Twin Lakes Road. That's a lot easier for me. Terry
I'm Russ Heckendorf from St. Paul. I've lived in St. Paul about 40 years. I played golf at the pond since it's open. People talk about a golf course. The Ponds is not a golf course. The Ponds is a really great golf course. It's 9 holes, it's high quality. it's in an area that doesn't have a lot of recreational resources. This kind of golf course is the future of golf. And I think it's undervalued by people who are trying to put a value on it. It would be a huge mistake to close this course. You could never duplicate it.
Thank you, Russ. Welcome, name and city, please.
Hi, Terry Larson, Maplewood resident. And I know to many of the people here, it may seem odd that so many people came out to speak in favor of a golf course. I think if you experience it, and building on the comments of many others, it's so much more than a golf course to so many, especially a lot of the kids. And I think a number of people who have raised other issues have made very good points. I'm just going to touch on one of them, affordable housing. I think that the affordable housing crisis is one of the most crucial current issues we are facing in Ramsey County and really everywhere, and it's so important to me. However, I think that it sets up an unfair false choice to pit the ponds against affordable housing. I believe that there are definitely far more ideal locations at which to address this very crucial problem. Ones that don't require taking away all the beautiful green space and wildlife habitat, not to mention the much-used golf course, but locations where vacant land and or vacant buildings now sit. And I've heard a lot about the changing demographics and the idea that the ponds doesn't fit within the new 21st century vision for the parks program. I work every single day in the education policy sector with the goal of promoting diversity and inclusion. Would not only not get Ramsey County any closer to that goal, I firmly believe it would actually bring us further away. I know there are private courses or very expensive public courses where it might be true that the users are mostly white, male, affluent, older. However, this couldn't be further from the truth at the ponds. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you. Rubelis, Twin Lakes Road, Teresa Glass, Michael Waltz, Shelley Kelberry, Matthew Marks, and Tom Miller. Come on up and line up. Any order, it doesn't matter. Come on up. We'll get everybody. Welcome. Name and city, please.
Yes, my name is Michael Walt. I'm from North St. Paul. I'm here because I'm concerned about misspending money. And it's not just the amount, although my property tax is going to go up 23% this year. Next year, what's it going to do next year? One of the things I'm concerned about is things like that equity and inclusion levy. And I'm hoping you're not putting a 10% increase in the budget for that. They're talking about a staff position, a couple employees, and $3 million. You have to have programs that basically are smart. And what that means is that they're smart. It means they're specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're relevant, and they're time and cost constrained. And if you don't do that, you're not going to have a program that works. Equity and inclusion just sounds like a nebulous concept. It doesn't seem measurable, it doesn't seem the way to be achievable, and it doesn't seem to have the cost constraint. It just can keep going and going and going, and nobody's going to put a stop to it because it sounds good and it sounds fair, and that's wrong. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Next speaker, name and city, please.
My name is Tom Miller. I live in South Maplewood. I put in 30 years working for St. Paul in their Parks and Rec. So much land. You take, excuse me, the ponds away. What do we have in the south area of Ramsey County? You go to the northeast end, you have Phelan, you have Kelly, you have Manitou, you have Goodrich. What do you have down here? You have a 9-hole course. It's a great course. I play it, I don't play it regularly like some people, but if you take it away, I'm done, other people are done, and it's never, ever coming back. You can't close a park, you can't close a rec center unless you wanna make the county a lesser place to live and to be from. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Before I go to the next sheet, I'll just call off names again. Teresa Glass, Shelley Calberry, Matthew Marks, Donna Coons, and John Naus, Jerome Gunther. Yep, come on up, Jerome. I'm doing my best on those names, and you can raise the mic there.
I'm Jerome Getler. I've been a 31-year resident of St. Paul. Born and raised. I've been coming to these things for probably 20 years, but we're really talking to the wrong people. This is a state law that dictates how they collect your taxes. There is no relationship between the increase in valuation and your ability to pay more of their budget. There has to be a limit on what they can raise in your taxes. They have raised our commercial properties, our apartment buildings, out of reach of most private citizens. We lose all our jobs in St. Paul. If you want to get your car fixed, you have to drive 30 miles out of town because the properties have gotten so expensive. And they control the valuation. They hyperinflate the valuation to increase your property taxes. So this year, we cannot, we say this every year, but in the last 30 years, it's averaged 7% increase, where wages barely make 1% increase. There is no limit to what they can charge. There has to be a limit. It has to be set by the state. And we have to do something with the state to get this to change. Otherwise, you're going to be here every year saying the same thing.
Thank you, Jerome. Donna Coons, Anna Fraser, John Kaus, Chuck Hanoy, Jeff Holisher, Jeff, Chuck, John, Donna, Chris Holberg, Mark Bradley. Come on up. Yep. Name and city, please.
My name is Chris Holbrook. I live in St. Paul. I just walked in here. I've been sitting in line behind 40 other people to talk to an assessor, so I apologize if I repeat anything. Everything that guy just said is right. The The criminal part about that is for my low-income renters. I have to raise their rents $30 and $40 a month just to cover these property tax increases. If you're worried about equity and inequity, you really need to look in the mirror instead of charging regressively to the poorest neighborhoods in the county and in the city. I think it's just a terrible situation. Like he said, there needs to be a maximum, there needs to be assistance instead of taking money from poor people and giving it to rich people to develop other property.
Thanks, Chris. Welcome. Name and city, please.
Mark Bradley, 2164 Woodland Avenue in Maplewood, Minnesota. I'm here to make low-income housing in an area that's very distressed as it is right now, when we should be talking about where it's going in the whole state. We should talk about what we really need here is more business to grow here, which means that we need, if we're going to get rid of the ponds, we've got to take a look what the value of what we already built is. And it's still making money at this point, not a lot, but a little bit. The question is, what did you invest in? And that's all wiped out at this point. Plus, also at the same time, we're trying to say, what are we going to do for the future? We got a range that's been sitting across the street from that facility for years that was supposed to be abandoned and never was. And they now say, oh yeah, but we could have had an indoor range. Yes, I know that. But the problem was we could have had that years ago. Everybody knew that. The problem was that when it happens to be that we can find an area where we can dump, we'll dump. We happen to have some businesses that are actually growing. In fact, we have right now, 61 is actually what you'd call Car Street. There is something that's got a tax base to it. But we're going to even try to take that out. Maplewood in hand with Ramsey County says, oh geez, that's not important. Let's talk about building, along with the Metro, this rapid transit, poo-poo that anybody needs a car in Maplewood at all. No, we're talking about investment here. If we look at it from that standpoint, get rid of the gun range, expand, if the golf course is not making what you realistically think it should, let's expand it. We've got land across the way. We can also make it into an actual entertainment area with football fields, because there's a lot of land over there for the kids.
Thank you, Mark.
That we have in the north, but not in the south.
Thank you. Okay, I've read off every name of people who have signed up online or called in or signed up in person at least twice. We're going to open it up now to anybody who would like to come up and speak. Just come on up and get in line. Next speaker, name and city, please.
Jeff DiGregorio, St. Paul. This division, and we have other issues besides a golf course in our county. If you enjoy golfing as much as I do, go to a different golf course, right? Sorry. Wait a minute. I work for Ramsey, right? So, I heard all of you talk about golf courses. I've heard all of you talk about golf courses. We have more to deal with than a golf course. All right? Just my thoughts. Enjoy your day. All right?
Closing a golf course doesn't help what
But
concept you're talking about.
let's keep it. Jeff, you have the floor.
Excuse me?
No.
Closing a golf course, what?
Jeff, you're speaking to the county board. This is the public hearing right here. Thank you.
Enjoy, all right? We don't need a golf course. We need help in our system.
And I live in the Hamlin Midway Hood, where when I call the police, usually they don't show up because they've got bigger fish to fry. And when they do show up, it's usually to manage a landlord-tenant issue that should be managed by the landlord, but instead the police are managing it. This is something that the landlord should be managing, and the cost should be shifted back to them. That way, the money that we need for police can get us more police, or the police can just do their job on real stuff. We don't need to have policemen dealing with garbage and noise and obnoxious tenants. So that's issue number one. I think we should refrain from tearing down beautiful historic homes and start tearing down some ugly boxed apartments and commercial buildings that are dilapidated and no longer serve a purpose and are probably very unsafe and disgusting. As far as the garbage thing goes, I don't think you met the goals to reduce dump furniture. It's not working. I live in a street with a lot of multifamily homes, and I see a couch out there every other day. Part of the problem is that the landlords put the fear of unit that has 4 garbage cans, 4 recycling bins. They're still putting mattresses outside, and then I've got a 5-unit building that has 2 garbage cans and there's trash everywhere. So that's another issue. I was, heard in a meeting that $10 million is going to be going for, working with the homeless to do what? 90% of those people in the encampments have brain injuries. They need to have managed care, not tent management. When the issue came up to city council about people wanting to retire at home, the city council said, we're just gonna build more senior housing. That didn't answer the question. And for, as far as giving tax breaks to stadiums and nonprofits, I think that that should be a sliding scale based on how much the leaders of those companies are making. So if they're making millions, they get no tax break. That's it.
Thank you, but real quick before you go, I just want to make sure most of the issues you raised were safe. Make sure you're aware that most of the things you raised, are for city issues, and I'll leave it at that. So you might want to show up at the St. Paul City Council and share your thoughts, I guess is what I'm saying.
Which issues?
The trash, the 10 million in homeless, those are things that are a part of the stadium, the
And
tax
these
cuts.
things aren't going into the taxes that I'm being charged?
They are.
Okay,
This
so
is
that's
not the
what
governing body that levied those taxes. I just want you to know in transparency. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will share the comments. Yes, thank you. Welcome.
Yeah, hello, I'm Steve Martinson from North Maplewood, and I had a question about the budget pack, and it was about the sources of funds. The bottom chart on page 5, it says other revenues and taxes decreased by 22 million, or about 40%, from 2019 to the 2020 proposal. And if it can, I'll yield my rest of my time to Chris. Samuel maybe can tell us what happened.
Maplewood. Excuse me. I hate golf. I'm slightly cross-eyed. It's the worst sport ever. But I'm going to talk to you guys about golf for a second. Because I have two issues with the way that the closure of the ponds course is being handled. One is fiscally. I'm a taxpayer, I'm not a golf player. And I keep hearing from all of you guys that there's no guarantee the course will make money. There's no guarantee that we won't lose money on it. But nobody has a plan for what we're doing afterwards. Nobody's talked to the community about what should go in there. So you guys have no guarantee that we are replacing something we already have the infrastructure for with something that will benefit taxpayers or will be more cost effective. We're talking about tearing something down before we have a plan to make sure that we've got a better idea. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is I live in that neighborhood and I have seen ecological diversity explode since some of the ecological restoration has happened. And as far as I can tell, there's really no plan to make sure that all plans on how are you going to manage that. You know, right now, I believe a lot of the revenue from the golf course goes into managing that land. Rusty patch bumblebee has been found there. Beautiful prairie flowers. And so you guys need to figure out what are you going to do with this land, and then figure out, do you have a more cost-effective way to use it, and is that going to benefit the taxpayers more than what's already there? Figure that out, then decide if you're going to take down what we already have paid for.
Thank you. Welcome. Name and city, please.
Renee Henderson, East St. Paul. I would just like to mention that I recently bought my first home in January. I was shocked in March when I found out my property taxes had increased by a whopping 30%. My raise for that year, 2.2%. Not including the assessments that we get in the mail. Worker is not getting these raises. How are these raises sustainable? We are not getting these raises.
Once again, how are these raises sustainable? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, name and city, please.
Mike Lippert, Maplewood, Minnesota. Transparency, honesty, community involvement. By passing Commissioner Reinhardt's proposal for the ponds, you can show that you believe in that too. I do believe golf courses should make a profit. With that being said, did all the public courses in Ramsey County make a profit in 2019? That's kind of what everybody knows. Nobody knows. I would request that from 2019 and every year after that, you publish a profit loss statement on the Ramsey County website forever, so everybody can understand what's going on in the big picture.
In our public hearing. Up at the mic, please. You can lower that knob there. Name and city.
Dick Callan, lived in Maplewood for 45 years after I come back from Vietnam, raised a family, and yeah, my taxes keep going up and up and up, and I'm just wondering if you folks get reports on how many people are leaving Minnesota, or how many people are doing 6 months and a day kind of deal so they can get residency in other states. And if you look at a chart, you'll find that we're about tied with number 2 in income taxes. California is 1, Oregon is 2, and very shortly thereafter, Minnesota. And this goes back 6 months, but there was about 5,700 we're seeing the same thing. And is this part of the equation that you use to say, okay, ones that are left get to pay more? Look at Detroit. That's basically what happened there. They kept losing people, losing people, losing people. People left, finally had to pay more. So I'd really appreciate it if you'd look into that and see if we are losing people, and if we are, odds are they're probably the people that are making more money, but they're leaving. They don't want to pay the taxes anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else here to speak on the public hearing? Come on up to the mic. Name and city, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Sitting in the front row, I noticed even your logo is crooked. Put Your Hands Together Productions. You can watch it on. So, I would support the ponds, and I think everybody here does. I know that that's a huge amenity for the city of Maplewood. I know that my commissioner, Vicki Reinhardt, went to the Maplewood City Council and said she was on board to support it, but I also know because you guys have tried to close Goodrich Golf Course down before for high school. Once the commissioner of home district in the back room behind closed doors says leave it alone, it would be left alone. So I know that the only way you're going to keep that ponds golf course open, the only way you're going to keep property taxes under control is to change this honorable board. With all due respect, are you guys up to approximately $100,000 a year, meeting maybe 2 hours a week on Tuesday morning? This is not a complicated job. This does not take you don't need to be a nuclear scientist to do this simple job. Change this board, it changes everything. Hundreds of tons of concrete along an environmental trail you guys are gonna spend on that, which is gonna, has no, it's not facts-based, it's not evidence-based, you guys are gonna spend on that, at least according to your own, what you say, $1.5 billion. And you know it's gonna be $1 billion, and it's pointless.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Name and city, please.
Dan Howard, I'm from St. Paul. Commissioners, thank you for taking the beating tonight, but I was going to speak eloquently about keeping the ponds open, but we've got a lot of smart people in the room. I do want to say something that Chris said that kind of changed my focus in terms of commercial entities paying more in taxes. I don't know what you folks are doing to entice businesses to come and be part of Ramsey County, draw them from the West Metro to the East Metro. Whatever you're doing, please double it. The other and I have a retail background. The retail environment is changing. Many of you see that we have many vacant strip centers, the mall across the street here, they're losing major tenants. Is there something that we can do to talk to these property owners where we can have a public-private partnership where we can take these empty big boxes, build up, and make them affordable housing? So continue to do a good job, and thank you to all the citizens of Ramsey County. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak at the public hearing? Welcome.
Hi, my name's Sharon Scanlon. I'm from St. Paul. I did not plan to speak tonight, and I'll probably cry. So I have a kid who is on the autism spectrum, who's the nicest person in the whole wide world, and he grew up at the ponds of Battle Creek. He became a golfer, and he golfed for his high school, and he lettered in golf. He dropped out of college because he was depressed and had anxiety, but he returned to the ponds of Battle Creek, and they put him to work and made him feel useful and supported him, loved him, and he's back in college now on the dean's list, and I'm looking forward to coming back this summer. It's a place. It's not just a piece of land. There are people that it's very important. Please don't just think of it as a piece of land. It's really important to our family, and the people are wonderful, and there's a lot of diversity, and they do a lot of good things. So please take a look at it again. I know only 2 of you have ever even seen it. Please go out and look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come and speak at the public hearing? Anybody else like to come and speak at the public hearing? Third and final call. Anybody else? A few closing comments to make here before we end our meeting. First off, I do want to reinforce the 2 tax refunds. One is income-based, one is not. If your taxes go up over 12%, you automatically qualify for some type of refund depending on how much your percentage went up. So please make sure you apply for those refunds to help bring your tax impact down to your families. Also, a number of issues were talked about tonight. St. Paul City Council is doing their public hearing next week. St. Paul School Board does their public hearing. And there was a lot of direct questions, and we want to get you the answers, but we don't engage at a public hearing. Tonight's our night to listen to you. Tonight's our night. We have staff here. We will all stay. We're all going to be available to have conversations with you. Your commissioners have all taken notes and written down your questions, and they will make sure that we get you those answers. You have direct access. What's important to you, your values, and how that's aligning with the Ramsey County proposed budget. So there's plenty of times to connect and share your thoughts. We will get answers. We'll all stay here. So Kevin, we did interrupt you when you talked, so please, with respect, I'm going to ask you not to engage. When I close the meeting, I will come and have a conversation with
If
you.
you are going to respond to the answers, so everybody can hear the answers, because I'm interested in a lot of the answers, and if you don't put them up on the website, then I can't see the answers. Will you post the responses, the answers on the website, Mr. Chair?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. They will all be on the website. All right, a couple of quick things. We heard a lot about one specific part of our budget, the Ponds Battle Creek, from the very passionate personal stories to all the other things, and we appreciate everybody coming down and talking about that specific item that's been proposed in our budget. We heard about the impacts to the people that are on fixed incomes, and one of the first calls I always get is every one of us feel your pain. We truly do. We do. Each and every one of us, these are tough decisions that we work on not every single day, but throughout the year to get to this point in time. And me personally, I take a look at it in three different ways. We have 550,000 people in this county, and a number of them need services from us. Whether it's mental health, chemical dependency, child protection, it runs the gamut. We do solid waste management. We have lots of responsibilities as county commissioners. And 550,000 people depend on us to do a good job. And so part of that is making sure that we have the resources for our employees are trained so that they can provide the services that are expected by the residents in Ramsey County. The other piece of that is the people that get those services. Many people are in crisis. When you come into, most of us, when we door knock, the two questions we get, who's my county commissioner? Government. For the most part, you see 50% health and wellness. The fact is almost all of that is crisis service. We try to get into prevention. We try to get into support families and individuals before they come into crisis. But for the most part, every dollar in health and human services going to an individual or family who is already in crisis and depending on us to be able to help support them through that point in time, through what they're going through in their lives, whether it's in corrections, whether it's in public health, whether it's in human services. The third leg of that stool is each and every one of you who pay for that. The property owners in Ramsey County, whether you own your personal residence, whether you own a business, whether you own duplexes, triplexes, sixplexes, or apartment buildings. For the most part, you pay that, that's what you pay. I heard one individual actually acknowledge property tax is a very regressive tax. It's about the most regressive of all taxes. It is the only tool the state gives us as counties to fund our programs. We can't levy sales tax. Income tax, which is actually probably the most fairest tax, we can't do that. So we only have one tool, and that's the property tax. And so when we're making our I own property, I own a house, I have 4 children, I'm raising a family on the east side of St. Paul. I look at the folks that depend on us, sometimes for life-saving interventions into their lives to make sure we're there, we have, and we can be responsive. And then I look to the 4,000 employees that we have in this county, and I want to make sure we're attracting the best and the brightest, and I want to make sure we're training them to be able to be the most responsive they can be in our community. None of this is easy. None of this is easy. You make our jobs by showing up, sharing your thoughts with us is important to us. Whether the results end up being what you're asking for us to do or not, it matters that you came tonight, and I want to thank each and every one of you on behalf of the Ramsey County Board for being here. I'm going to close the meeting, and then I know each and every one of us will stay and we'll talk to you individually. Ryan O'Connor is our county manager. We've got a number of our staff people here that can get you some specific answers tonight. As Kevin has asked, we will make sure that all the questions that were answered tonight, we will have answers online. And anybody who talked about issues that were broader than the Ramsey County issues, we will share that with those other governing bodies, whether it's city councils or school boards. So thank you again. This meeting is adjourned.
Access to